Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 2. When we last left off, we have captured yet another Roman city and renamed it to Ascona, and Rome is the only city remaining from the Roman Empire. But before we go on and take Rome by force as well, I would like to read a lot more Civilopedia entries which we have missed in the previous 10 or 20 episodes. I've made the list and there are quite a few items to read about, so I guess it will take an entire episode. So if you are not interested, I'm sorry, but I do want to read all of that for myself and for you. So let's start with the game concepts. We have 3 which we haven't read about yet and apply to us already. So the first one is called Fortress. We can build fortresses already a long time, but I would like to build one right now over here. And we'll read more about it and then it will become clear to you why. Once your civilization has discovered construction, settlers and engineers have the ability to construct fortresses. Fortresses can be utilized to defend city perimeters and to block key points of access from enemy armies. That's exactly what we want to achieve. A properly manned fortress can provide an effective defense by doubling the defensive strength of all units stationed within, which is also very useful. Unlike normal combat, units stacked within a fortress defend and are destroyed one at a time in battle rather than being destroyed simultaneously, which is probably the biggest advantage of the fortresses. Fortresses themselves do not suffer damage in the attack. Settlers and engineers can construct fortresses by pressing the F key or choosing the Build Fortress command from the Orders menu. Units within a fortress have their defensive strength doubled. Under a republic, units stationed inside fortresses built within 3 squares of their home city do not cause unhappiness, which will be also very important because after we destroy the Romans, I would like to switch to republic. Okay, the next game concept is the one we have gained just recently in the last episode, is called Transforming Terrain. In addition to the changes to terrain that can be made through irrigation and mining, engineers are able to transform map squares into a radically different terrain types by using the Transform command on the Orders menu. Terrain transformation is particularly useful if the terrain surrounding a city doesn't produce sufficient resources. See the Civilopedia entries for each terrain type for the results of engineer transformation. So you can either go to terrain types and let's say take desert, and you'll see that the engineer transformation transforms it into plains, or you can look it up in the Civilization 2 poster, which I have shown you earlier a couple of episodes ago. And the third game concept I want to show you is called pollution, because, well, you will see why. Pollution is most commonly caused by the excessive production of shields in a city. However, it may also be caused by large city populations after the discovery of the automobile. Also, nuclear attacks or meltdown of a nuclear plant. When a city poses a potential pollution problem, skulls on a yellow triangle appear in the information box of the city display. The more skulls a city generates, the higher the city's chance of polluting a terrain square within a city radius each turn. When world pollution reaches sufficiently critical levels, there is a chance that global warming can occur. Pollution can be cleaned up by moving settlers or engineers into the polluted square and pressing the P key, or choosing the Clean Up Pollution command from the Orders menu. Pollution production of cities can be reduced through the construction of certain city improvements or by reducing the city's shield production. So as I said, it already applies to the city of Zurich because we produce a lot of shields, as you can see here, and these 2 triangles indicate that there is a slight chance of pollution appearing anywhere in the city's vicinity. And if that happens, the square will stop producing any resources and will have to be cleaned up by our engineers. Okay, so that's for the game concepts. We haven't read about any terrain types and special resources, I think, except for silk. But I will leave that for another time. I think I will leave out the government types as well, and let's concentrate on military units. I've made a list, so give me a moment. I will stop here and come back to you when I find out exactly what I have missed so far. Okay, so I'm back, and if I am not mistaken, we have missed the description of 4 military units. The first of them is the chariot, which we can't even produce anymore, has been replaced by the Crusaders, I think. But probably because we had the Crusaders pretty soon, we have never even seen the chariots, probably only as barbarians. Okay, so they have a pretty decent attack strength and a movement rate of 2, which helps a lot, but I guess they are somehow equivalent to the horsemen as well. Anyhow, let's read the description. The chariot was the first true fighting vehicle. It was used by ancient armies to transport archers and other troops to the battlefield, where they would disembark and fight. The chariot was turned into a fearsome offensive weapon by the Assyrians, whose archers and spearmen fought from the inside the chariot itself. Few enemies were able to withstand an onslaught of Assyrian chariots. This devastating form of attack was soon adopted by many of the Assyrian enemies, who used the chariot against them with good effect. Okay, good to know. The next one are the pikemen. We had a few of those, but we never read the description. They have a special ability. They have a plus 50% defense versus units with the movement factor of 2. So like against Crusaders and horsemen and chariots and so on. So they are pretty good with a defensive strength of 2, which is turned into 4 for quick units, and which is turned to 4 times 3 to 12 if you are inside the city with the city walls, and I believe there is a bonus even if you are fortified, so they can basically withstand all the attacks from fast-moving units. Let's read the description too. The growing deployment of knights on the battlefield demanded that foot soldiers develop new means of fighting that would lessen their vulnerability against mounted opponents. One of the best ways to do this was to lengthen the reach of the infantrymen by arming them with long, sturdy spears, known as pikes. Massed infantry armed with pikes, in conjunction with archers, managed to even the battlefield odds. Armies equipped in this manner managed to hold their own until the invention of gunpowder made knights a thing of the past. And that's why we don't have any pikemen anymore, because they have been replaced by the musketeers, which is also a unit we haven't read about yet. So the musketeers are over here. They have 2 hit points, which is excellent, and quite balanced attack and defense skills. They have a movement rate of 1, like every defensive unit in the early and mid game, but they are much more useful than anything else before them. One of the most important developments in the history of warfare was the invention of firearms. Originally developed in the 14th century, firearms evolved quickly, and by the late 17th century, flintlock muskets had become commonplace in battle. Musketeers, who were relatively inexpensive to equip and train, proved a deadly foe for the knights who had dominated the battlefield for so many years. Armies were often comprised of a combination of musketeers, cannon, and knights, each complementing the strengths and weaknesses of one another. Large forces of musketeers within a fortress or behind city walls proved an exceedingly difficult obstacle to an attacking army. Muskets were the primarily firearm in use until they were replaced by repeating rifles in the mid-19th century. So this description is actually quite useful because it tells you you should combine musketeers, cannons and knights, and you should put them in fortresses and behind city walls and so on and so on. So I wish I would have read that when I first played the game. Okay, and the last unit we haven't read about yet is a non-military unit. It's our new engineers. As you can see, they cost 40, which is probably the same as the settlers. Where are they? Yeah, so they don't cost more than the settlers, but they are twice as effective. They have an increased movement rate, which is excellent. They have better defense strength and, well, of course they move, they work faster, which is the best aspect of this upgrade. Let's read the description as well. As technology progressed through the centuries, people began to specialize in a single skill or field of knowledge. The early pioneers who acted in the multiple roles of farmers, builders, and just about any other occupation required by their situation were replaced by engineers specifically trained in a single discipline. Specialized training provided engineers the time and the skill necessary to accomplish feats of construction and environmental manipulation never before experienced in history. Okay, so that's units. We have read everything about all the wonders of the world which have been built so far by us and by our enemies as well. We have also read about every civilization advance we have discovered so far, but we have a huge gap in the city improvements. So let me actually go to a relatively new city like Interlaken over here, or maybe we can go to Solothurn. Yeah, building city walls. So if I remember correctly, we have read only about temples, libraries, cathedrals and granaries. And everything else remains to be read about yet. So I'll just do all these structures one by one, and then a few more which are not available here because they have prerequisites, but I will tell you more about that in, well, later. So the first one is Palace. It doesn't require maintenance, costs a lot, and you can build it basically very, very early. It eliminates corruption and waste in the city and decreases it in all nearby cities. So basically, there's no corruption and waste in Bern, which is our capital at the moment. And in other cities like Zurich or Lucerne, the corruption is pretty low because they are close to the capital. The other cities like, I don't know, Locarno, for example, experience huge corruption, and we can fight that by building some other structures I will show you later, or by changing the government type, which I will read about later as well. First of all, let's read about the palace. When populations began to organize their communities into cities, their governments became more structured and formalized. At an early stage, the ruler of the city established headquarters from which the business of running the city was conducted. In many cases, these buildings also served as the living quarters of the ruler. In wealthy cities, these facilities often expanded into immense sprawling palaces. These richly adorned, imposing buildings were a source of civic pride and helped to reinforce the aura of power surrounding the ruler. Very cool. Okay, the next one is barracks. I believe we haven't read about barracks yet, so let's do that quickly. They require a maintenance of 1 until the discovery of gunpowder. Then they require a maintenance of 2, and I think there's also maintenance 3 after the discovery of, well, not really sure what, but the game will tell you by selling all the barracks automatically, and you will have to rebuild them. When you have barracks, the city produces veteran ground units, only ground units, that is very important. And ground units can be completely repaired in a single turn. That's why we have built barracks in Ascona in the last episode. Okay, warfare has been a recurring phenomenon throughout the history of mankind, and it continues to plague the world today. Although war is not a desirable solution, it is important that even the most peaceful of societies be prepared for the possibility of war. When warring nations are closely matched in technology and manpower, battles are usually won by the army with the best training. Military schools and academies exist all over the world, established for the purpose of training military personnel in the latest methods, tactics, and technology. Men and women who graduate from such facilities possess higher than average command and military and technological skills, making them more effective in combat situations. Yeah, then we have read about temple already, so I will skip that. We haven't seen the description of the marketplace yet. It increases the tax and luxury output by 50%. We have read also about library, which increases the third aspect of the trade, which is the science output. So you can increase tax and luxuries by building marketplaces, and then later on banks and stock exchanges. And you can increase the science output by building libraries, and then later on universities, and even later on the computer lab, I believe. Yeah. So it requires maintenance of one, which is excellent for us. We can build them for free because we have the Adam Smith Trading Company. Okay. As cities grew and prospered, trade between the farmers, artisans, and craftsmen who lived in the vicinity contributed to the economic health of the city. It soon became apparent that the best way for conducting trade within the city was to have a central location or marketplace where the people offering goods and services or seeking them could meet and conduct business. As a city's marketplace grew larger and more active, the economic vitality of the city grew as well. Very good. Then we have read about library already. We haven't read about courthouse yet. So requires maintenance of one, is very useful because it decreases corruption by 50%, and we'll be building those in our new cities which are far from our capital. We could even move the capital, by the way, by moving the palace to another city, but I think I'm quite happy with where it is now. It also makes city more resistant to bribery by enemy diplomats and spies. So if, for example, the city of, what was it, I can't remember, Kumai, I think, had a courthouse built, we could not pay only, what was it, about 500 gold pieces to bribe them. It would cost probably twice as much. And because under democracy you don't have any corruption, this building has a different use, and it makes one content citizens happy, which will be very useful later on for us. It will be something we'll use to make the citizens happy and to make the city grow very, very fast. I will show you that in a separate episode. Let's read the description too. As kingdoms and empires expanded, it became increasingly difficult for the rulers to maintain control over the more distant regions of their realm. To ensure that the far-flung cities of the empire contributed their expected share of duties and taxes to the government, local magistrates and courts were established. In the courthouse, the ruler's representatives listened to the grievances of the people and defined and enforced the laws that govern social interaction. This reduced crime and thereby kept the local population productive. Okay, we are almost at the end of the episode, but I will continue until we have read everything I have on my list. Continuing with the city walls. No maintenance, excellent, but they are pretty expensive. Units in the city are tripled on defense versus ground attacks, and I repeat that again, only against ground attacks. Before the establishment of centralized governments capable of supporting strong national armies, individual cities were left to fend for themselves when it came to defense. As a result, many cities constructed city walls to protect against raiders and bandits. City walls represented a major investment in both time and materials, requiring years to complete and constant repairs to maintain their strength and integrity. However, these walls turned the city into a fortress capable of withstanding all but the most determined attack. Okay, next we have the aqueduct, which we have built already, I believe, in Zurich. Not sure about that, but I think if we haven't built it yet, we'll build it very soon, because it allows you to grow a bow or beyond the size of 8. It requires maintenance. I'm pretty sure I've built it in Zurich already. Okay. A major obstacle to population growth and expansion in early cities was the scarcity of water. In many cases, the solution to this problem was an aqueduct. Aqueducts were large, elevated stone canals through which water from nearby hills and mountains was channeled into the city. Aqueducts allowed cities to grow much larger by significantly increasing the amount of available water. At the same time, aqueducts reduced the chance of contracting waterborne diseases by reducing the dependence on stagnant ponds and wells as water sources. Aqueducts also allowed cities to be built in normally inhospitable environments, such as deserts, by providing an outside water source. Modern-day Los Angeles, for example, obtains its water supply from the Colorado River through a system of aqueducts over 200 miles long. I didn't know that. Did you? Okay, then we have a Colosseum, which we have built in Zurich, I believe, to keep the people happy. But since we have built the Shakespeare Theatre there as well, we could afford to sell the Colosseum. I think. Not sure about that. It requires a lot of maintenance, but makes 3 unhappy citizens content. And if we discover the electronics, it will be even 4. So it's quite useful if you have large cities and problems with the unhappiness. The original Colosseum provided entertainment for the common people of Roman society by presenting them with spectacles and events as a temporary escape from day-to-day life. This concept has been revived in the 20th century. Modern-day stadiums and civic centers provide an arena for entertainment ranging from concerts to professional sporting events. Although the violent spectacle of gladiatorial combat is a thing of the past, today's colosseums still provide entertainment and diversion for the masses. Okay, let's read about the harbor, which we have built in Biel, also in the last episode, I believe. Maintenance 1, which for us means 0. It's not so expensive, and its advantage is that all ocean squares in the city radius produce 1 extra unit of food, which makes the coastal cities produce more food and therefore grow faster, or, well, not starve. Okay, the description. Just because a city is built in a coastal region doesn't guarantee that the city is readily accessible by ship. In order for a port city to establish a steady trade, fishing or other shipping industry, the city must have a harbor. A harbor is a protected body of water that opens into an ocean or lake that shelters ships from waves and high winds. Although some coastal cities are established in areas where a natural harbor exists, most seaports are forced either to improve the existing natural harbor or to build a man-made harbor to shelter ships and provide channels deep enough to accommodate large vessels. Okay. And that's it for this city. I think I haven't read anything about the Oracle yet, and I probably should by now, because it's already expired, which is indicated by this asterisk over here. So we will not be building Oracle. That would be counterproductive. So let's read about it as well, and maybe we can have a look at the video later. Okay, so I will not read about it yet. I will show it to you in the next episode, at the beginning of the next episode. And what I wanted to show you was actually, let's continue building city walls in here. And what I wanted to show you next was, for example, here, no. In Geneva, yeah, we have a library here. So library is a prerequisite for the university. Now we can build university here, and we can also read more about it. It costs a lot of maintenance, but it increases the science output by additional 50%, which is cumulative with the library. Universities are institutions of higher learning. Early universities, established in the Middle Ages, were usually built in cities that had a large or important cathedral. Studies at these institutions focused on matters concerning the church. The curricula quickly expanded to include classical art, literature, and languages. Modern universities provide the opportunity to study a wide array of subjects. They have also become centers for research into many fields, serving as the source of major advances in computers, medicine, physics, and a variety of other subjects. Excellent. And the same is true for what we were building here, city walls. Okay. And the same is true for, have we actually built a marketplace somewhere? Well, let me just quickly scroll through our cities if we have a marketplace anywhere. Doesn't look like it. No, I think we went through all the cities already. So after you build a marketplace, you can then build a bank as an improvement. Maintenance free, just like the university. Increases tax and luxury output by additional 50% cumulative with the marketplace. A highly developed banking system is one of the cornerstones of an advanced civilization. Banks lend money to individuals or groups, providing capital for industrial and real estate development. Banks also contribute to the economic growth of a city or region by stimulating the development of production facilities. Individual citizens can also benefit by investing their own surplus money in the bank and earning interest on it. And if you have a bank, you can even build a better improvement called a stock exchange, which is right here. Costs even more shields and maintenance, but is cumulative with the marketplace and bank for a grand total of 150% increase in tax and luxuries. So we'll build those in our biggest cities. A free market economy corporations often raise In a free market economy, corporations often raise operating and development capital by selling shares in the corporation to private investors. These shares, which allow investors to share in the company's profits, were originally sold by brokers and privately hired auctioneers. Early European stock exchanges, such as the Paris Bourse, allowed anyone to buy and sell stock. However, it was quickly discovered the formalized system was necessary in order to enforce transactions. Thereafter, membership in the exchange was required in order to buy and sell. The first formal stock exchange in the US was established in 1791 in Philadelphia, and the New York Stock Exchange was established a year later. Today, stock exchanges are located in many major cities and commercial centers around the world. Private investment in corporations is vital to capitalistic economies, allowing corporations to grow more quickly than would otherwise be possible. The profits and new jobs created as a result improve the economy as a whole. Okay, and let me quickly check if we went through everything. We don't have that yet, we don't have that either. I believe that's all we can build at the moment. And it's been almost 30 minutes, making this episode 50% longer, but at least we have caught up with everything I wanted to show you in the Civilopedia. Well, except for the Oracle, which will be a topic for the beginning of the next episode, because I need to find that video first. Okay, so if you are still here and watching this video, I hope you are not completely bored, and I promise in the next episode we'll see some action as well. Until then, bye bye.